All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in. Yes, I do know to our local. I know there's some super chats and super chubs going on. We will get to those before the end of the show. I promise you that. So keep loading those up. We might take them all at the end of the show or at some point tonight, but I want to get to the latest news and notes on Carson Beck. There's been a lot of reporting. Obviously, it was announced today, released a statement from the University of Georgia that the Carson Beck camp is seeking more opinions. Now, here's what I've kind of been let on to believe. Everyone's concerned about a UCL ligament or potential for the UCL ligament to have been ruptured or a strain potentially there. Based off all information that I have received, that is a concern and a potential concern moving forward. I think right now they're a little bit more concerned about the actual bone structure in the elbow, and that's what they're seeking further information on. Everything that I know right now says that I don't expect him to play against whoever they play against in the Sugar Bowl. However, I'm not out here ruling out that Carson Beck is done or that his Georgia career is done. That is certainly on the table. But I think the reports are that they are continuing to seek further information, and I believe that. I don't believe that they're sitting on some type of medical information that they already have.
Yeah, I mean, they're usually quick to announce when, like, hey, so-and-so players had this injury. They've had a season-ending surgery. It's done. Like, this is it.
Did it with Thorson.
They did it with Brett Thorson, a guy who, like, the day of, like, the next day they said, he had a season, that he had a surgery on his knee. He's done for the season. Like, they don't hide things for you, and there's no need to hide it anymore because you're in the playoff. You have the bye. So there's not much of an advantage for Georgia coming out and saying, like, we're keeping something behind their back and going, oh, we don't know, when they know the answer. Like, I think Georgia is genuinely still trying to figure out answers here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want to weigh all of your options and make sure that you get everything finalized before you put a decision out there to everybody, because if you can get Carson Beck back, you want Carson Beck back, even if it isn't for this next game. But knowing that, hey, if we get to the next round, 15 might be taking snaps for us in that game, like, that's a huge deal. So you definitely want to keep all possibilities open. Definitely shouldn't just be shutting them out right now.
So Carson's status has not been finalized, but I'll tell you what has. The 2025 quarterback discussion at the University of Georgia has been finalized. The debate is no more. You know who your guy is for the next 14 months, and it's Gunnar Stockton, and here's why. I just told you no one expects Carson to play. Even if you get the best news about his elbow moving forward, he's not going to play in that Sugar Bowl, which means for the next 23 days, you are hyping up Gunnar Stockton to go win you a national title, which takes you out of the discussion of any portal activity in the quarterback discussion portal in the next week. If you were going to get a quarterback in the portal, which was up for discussion, in my opinion, if Carson Beck's 100% healthy, for the 2025 starting discussion, if that was going to be done, it would have had to have been done over the next 2 weeks, and it's not going to happen now that you have to throw your full force behind 14. So you don't have to worry about anything regards to who is our quarterback in 2025. The decision has been made. The die has been cast for you. It's Gunnar Stockton moving forward for the University of Georgia.
There's no chance that they open this back up and have another QB competition come the end of the season?
Certainly an opportunity that the Gunnar Stockton goes through and, plays in the Sugar Bowl, maybe doesn't play well, and they lose the football game. Yes, there's obviously an opportunity for the discussion to be had of opening up the debate or the position battle for what is in the room currently. But in the regards to, hey, maybe they go buy a starter in the portal, that's out. That's out of the window. This is done. You have to fully put your support behind Gunnar Stockton over the next 20 days.
And, I mean, if we're being realistic, like, there wasn't a guy currently in the portal right now, in my opinion, that you look at and go, oh, he could probably come in and make an impact for Georgia starting next year. Like, even before.
There's one player, maybe two. There's two players in the portal right now I think could make an impact on Georgia's roster. Three. Arden Key, Concepcion, and Singleton.
Right, but I'm talking about the quarterback
nobody.
There's no one where you go like, oh, that's the guy that you would go get.
The best quarterback in the portal right now is Jackson Arnold.
And it looks like he's going to Mississippi State.
Yeah, because of the ties to Levy and because the biggest player is now out. Mm-hmm. And I do believe Georgia was potentially going to be a player in that if Carson's healthy. But they're not now, obviously. So,
I mean, the good news is that everybody that wanted answers on what is the quarterback room, what does Gunnar look like what's your thoughts and opinions on Gunnar? Well, you're going to get some thoughts and opinions of yourself. You're going to get to see what it's like yourself of what Gunnar can do. You got to see a little bit of it in the SEC championship game. And now the good news is since you do get the first round bye, he does have 3 weeks to take all of the ones reps. He's going to fully prepare himself as the number one quarterback, the starting quarterback, that Mike Bobo and the offensive staff has the ability to formulate a game plan centered around 14, because it's not the same game plan that you would have with Carson Beck under center, and you'll get a true look of what a Georgia-led Gunnar Stockton team is going to look like.
Absolutely, and it's still premature to say that Beck is out and that they're going to have to make an entire title run without Carson Beck. But let's talk about it. If they were, do you think they can go win a national title with Gunnar Stockton? That's the first question that most people will have.
I think I like the odds of Georgia getting to a national title, because I think the matchups are pretty favorable. Like if you draw Indiana or Notre Dame, I think a lot of people would still give you a chance in that game.
You can run game rock fight that.
And I think you could do the same against Boise State or Penn State. Whoever wins that one, or not to discount anybody out of the playoff yet, or like if SMU was out there too. Like I think that those first two games that you could potentially play, I think that you match up well still against them. Whoever comes out on the other side, whether it be Texas again, whether it be a Tennessee, whether it be Ohio State, whether it be Oregon, that's a whole nother story, I think.
We assume whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket is doing so, scoring a lot of points. Their offense is playing really, really well. And that would concern me. Going up against an offense that you know can not necessarily score at will, but can score explosively. I don't know if you can win a 35-33 or 35-34 football game with Gunnar Stockton at the quarterback position right now, but the offense is going to look totally different. I tweeted out today, if I were, Mike Bobo, the next 20 days would be nothing but trying to figure out how much of Vanderbilt's quarterback design run and how much of Georgia Tech's quarterback design run can we implement into our offense for Gunnar Stockton. And by the way, like quarterback counter read, it sounds difficult. It sounds like, we're going to implement a new quarterback run scheme. From a run game blocking perspective, nothing changes. Counter is counter. We down block, we pull, we pull. It's nice and simple. What changes is the action in the backfield, and you've got to get a lot of reps with the mesh points of those things, right? Bringing motion and putting the ball into the jet guy's belly, and then being able to read the defensive tackle and pull the ball at the right time without creating a fumble. Those things require a lot of reps and a lot of practice, but it's not a massive overhaul with regards of implementing or creating new run schemes and blocking schemes. They're relatively simple. So I think it would be an easy implementation process for Mike Bobo and this offensive staff.
And I think the thing that everyone's kind of clamoring about for Georgia right now is you look at the other 6 teams that are in this half of the bracket for you. Boise State, Notre Dame, Indiana, SMU, Penn State. With the exception of maybe Penn State, you would assume that Georgia can just out-physical all of those teams. And Penn State, we know, is like...
Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a big physical football team. They look like an SEC roster. They're big, physical, and fast on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay, so with the exception of maybe Notre Dame and Penn State, you would feel confident that, hey, we're Georgia, we can just out-physical you today. And you can probably do that all the way to a national title if things go well for you. So that's where I would say things are kind of favorable in that, and that they absolutely can win a national title game.
I've seen it in the chat today, people asking if I've done any type of analysis or film breakdown on Gunnar Stockton from high school. Yes, you probably just don't remember me from back then. I did do a breakdown from 2021. We sent it into the Discord today. Man, that'll show you just how much this network has grown. I mean, it'll seem like overnight. It'll make you notice, A, the network has grown, and B, Brooksy has shrunk. But you'll notice that right off the bat. But no, my comparison for Gunnar coming out of high school, I still feel the very same way about it. It was Baker Mayfield. Now, people are going to hear that and be like, whoa, shit, Baker won a Heisman. Is this guy saying this? No, I don't think that. It's changed in this department. Baker's got one of the most sudden and explosive releases in pro football right now. Like, that dude's got a chooch, and it comes out really, really quickly. Hey, yo. All right, so really, really good mechanics and got a tremendously strong arm. But the comparison for me came from this. Gunnar's got a tremendous amount of horsepower for a guy who's 6 foot, 210 pounds. Okay, 6'1", 210 pounds. He's not an explosive runner. He's not a 4.58 runner. He's a 4.8 runner. Okay, but he's got some shit to him. The way Baker Mayfield talks trash, the way he gets his teammates riled up, the way he creates an edge through his teammates, that it factor. Gunnar Stockton certainly has that. And here's where it hammered home the Baker Mayfield comparison for me, despite the fact that Gunnar's motion is very, very elongated, and you guys know that, and it's certainly going to create problems for him as a football player. Or not problems, but limitations for him as a football player. There's certain things that we're going to remove from the playbook that were in the playbook for a guy like Carson, who's very quick and in and out of it. But here's what I love about the evaluation for Baker, or for Gunnar and for Baker. That it factor, that thing that people talk about that they can't ever quantify, I've seen it in person with this guy. And I talked to you about this on the way home Saturday night. And maybe it was COVID, maybe it was just the peak of 7-on-7, and maybe we'll never get back to this era of recruiting services or recruiting environments. But this was right after COVID or right during COVID. And Gunnar was the 7-on-7 quarterback for a 7-on-7 team here in Atlanta called Hustle Inc. And on that 7-on-7 team was guys like Oscar Delp, Kojo Antwi, Denalo Morset, KJ Bolden, like every 5-star and 4-star in the state of Georgia, Jamal Haynes, all of them were on that 7-on-7 team. And to a man, everybody messed with Gunnar. Everybody loved Gunnar. And I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. Like, I get it. When guys rock with dudes, they got a certain like style about them, or they got a certain steez about them, or they got this magnetism to them. Gunnar's got all of that. And I don't know why. He's not like this outgoing personality. He's not this flamboyant dude. He kind of sticks to himself and just laughs at everybody's jokes, and it's just a great time to be around. But his teammates, they are willing to die for that guy. And when he walks into the huddle, things change. And it does. You can go watch him throw in shorts, and you can go watch him throw in t-shirt and shorts, and you'll never understand it. And then the moment the lights come on, the moment the whistles start flying, and the moment the real bullets start going, you talk to his teammates that have played with him. You talk to guys who play with 7-on-7 with him. Ask them who their favorite quarterback is. Who's the favorite quarterback you've ever played with? They say Gunnar Stockton. I went to that Adidas All-American game a couple years ago. These dudes been around this guy for 3 days. 3 days. Don't know shit about him. He's this kid from Rabun County. You ask every single one of those guys that played in that Adidas All-American game, who's your favorite quarterback here this week? Every single one of them, Gunnar Stockton. And they say it with a smile on their face. And I've never been able to figure it out. I don't know why. But he's the same way at Georgia. He had his damn head coach crying in a post-game press conference because he loves the kid so much. You looking for it factor, it's in spades. It's all over the place with this guy. Now, tremendous amounts of limitations with the game. There are limitations with the game. But everything, if you go watch that film study, and I'll put it back up for you guys on Twitter today from back in 2021, one of the very first things I say is sometimes you will run into quarterbacks who are football players stuck playing quarterback, not quarterbacks who are stuck playing the game of football. This guy's a football player. He's not a great quarterback. He's a great football player. And in college football, that certainly matters.
Yeah, I mean, you could see, like, and it's funny because as soon as he stepped out on the field, it's almost like that infectious energy immediately turned to the crowd too. Like, that crowd was freaking, like, Gunnar Stockton could have ran for 1 yard and Georgia fans would have taken the top off the bins. Like, that's the type of energy that was immediately met when he set foot on the field. And I know that fans probably knew they needed to rally behind him. Like, there was some juice of like, oh, we finally get to see some Gunnar Stockton. But you could tell, too, like, the offensive lineman was juiced to have him out there. They were trying to get the crowd amped up. Like, you can tell people do really like him.
I just put the link to that film breakdown in the chat. I can't believe it, but it's 42 minutes long. So, yeah, even young Brooks in this game didn't know how to be tight with the coverage. He was really exhaustive. So, yeah, it's in the chat if you guys want to go watch that. It's good stuff, man.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, come on.
Has the fact that in the regular season you weren't really able to pull away in games?
Oh, it hurts. Hurts.
Does it hurt or does it benefit you now? Because I know you haven't
put it on tape.
You haven't gotten the reps, but you haven't put it on tape. All that there is of Gunnar Stockton is a couple of throws against Tennessee Tech and 1/2 against Texas, and that's it. There's not a whole lot that you can go off to say, okay, this is where we can attack this kid's weakness.
What it does is it makes the defensive coordinator project.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever draws you, whoever wins that Notre Dame-Indiana game, they're going to have to project and draw up in the dirt what they think, what kind of quarterback design run games Georgia's going to play. Because I'm telling you right now, you're going to see it. In that football game Saturday, all you saw was quarterback draw because Gunnar Stockton was having to run the Carson Beck offense. There's no avenue or simulation where Georgia's offensive staff is spending time in that SEC championship game, creating a simulation where Gunnar has to go in. So they start installing plays against Texas's defense for a potential Gunnar Stockton entrance into that game. No, that's not how offensive game plans work. That's how it will work for this one. They go into this entire matchup knowing we've got to install an offense that Gunnar can run.
And what I was going to say is, even if Gunnar did play a good chunk of time this regular season, I still don't know that helps you prepare for what Georgia's going to give you in this playoff game. Because we're talking about how they're going to build an offense around Gunner for the second half against some teams. You're not building an offense for Gunner to run for a half.
No. All right. I was going to do some if this is the end of the Carson Beck thing, but I don't even feel like doing that. So we're going to scrap that from the show notes.
That
boys.
time will come.
Yeah,
right?
that's if it does come, and I don't want it to be.
Well,
I think people are getting way ahead. Why? Never mind. I'm not even going to go into that rant.
I was just gonna say, like,
I want to go into the rant about why we feel the need to be first on injury news, but I understand it's a business and we got bills to pay, so I understand why people do it. So I'm gonna shut the hell up. But I don't like it.
Yeah, all I was gonna say
But
is
I'm
that
gonna shut
like,
up. But I don't like it. But I don't like it.
All right. All I was gonna say is, like, we know that Carson Beck is in his last season at Georgia. Whether it's today that it's over or whenever the season officially ends for Georgia, like, we can do the soliloquy for his career as a dog whenever that time comes. Like, there's no
Fair.
need to be first for that.
All right.